I think the first game of the day on Saturday, that's going to be Colorado at TCU. So for Colorado, this is going to be a much different team than the one we got last year that got rolled by TCU 38-13. Obviously, they have more talent, more depth. Now, whether it's good talent or good depth, we won't know yet. And obviously, there's Deion Sanders as the head coach. They give them a little more attitude, a little more flash. They'll be fast. They'll have the offense. Yeah, especially if Travis Hunter is playing both receiver and defensive back. They'll have sure Sanders playing quarterback. So they'll have some NFL level talent on that side, which they did not have last year. For TCU, I think it has an offense that could be even better than it was last year. I think people forget that Max Duggan was fantastic, but there's a reason he was not the starter at the beginning of the season. That's because Chandler Morris was until he got hurt. So now he'll be back with a loaded receiver group. There's more experience on defense. And then, other factor, like we mentioned, Colorado's playing a bunch of transfers. So you don't know how that's all going to come together. Because of that, I'm thinking it's going to be a TCU blowout. I'm thinking 42-21, something like that. So, Jess, do you agree?
Yeah, I think Colorado, particularly early on in the season, isn't going to live up to the expectations people have. They have a lot of guys that are transferring in. They're not super familiar with each other. They're gonna have to find time to gel. TCU, I think, is just gonna be more week one ready. This is going to be a team that's coming off of the high of last year, although it ended in a less than ideal way for everybody outside of Georgia. So I just think TCU is going to come in. They're going to hit Colorado in the mouth. Colorado isn't going to fully know what to do. Over the course of the game, Colorado will improve, but I think TCU is going to win this game probably by 17 points, and it's going to be a comfortable kind of win.
All right, Jordan, what do you say?
No, I'm with you guys. I think TCU is the better team all around that we know of. I mean, Colorado, we don't know what they have. Really, I mean, they had a weird spring game. So with all the transfers and Coach Prime's first time in, the Power Five, I just don't know if they'll be able to gel. They're going to be gelled this quick. Maybe week 4, week 5, Colorado's going to look better. But just right now, I think TCU has the better all around team, better quarterback that has shown that he's a better quarterback. So yeah, TCU, I think they're going to win by 21, 24. It's just, I don't think Colorado has a chance in this game.
All right. Let's move ahead to Boise State at Washington. This is my upset pick of the week. I am picking Boise State over Washington. The reason being, if you noticed last year, probably midway through the season, they went to more of a ground attack, which is different than what Boise State has done in the past. And they have George Holani, who is a 1,100-yard back, who I believe, should get there again. They have Taylor Green, who can throw as well as tear off big runs. And last year, once they started this big running attack, they were 9-0 when they were cracking up 148 yards or more. For Washington, I think defense will probably be better. They were a little shaky on that side of the ball last year, so you got to think they'll be better with a little more experience and coaching and different talent coming in. Obviously, the offense is what really got them going and made them one of the top-tier teams last year from a Washington side. And they could probably score on this Boise team. I just think Boise's going to slow this game down, run it down on Washington, and grind this victory out for a 24-21 type victory. And so I'm picking Boise State here in the upset. So Jordan, what do you think?
I don't know. I'm with you. I don't know. I feel like this would be the one game that I could see the upset really happening. Maybe when we took the Clemson Duke game, but Boise State, I could see them coming into Washington and just being able to put up yards because Washington, it's a Pac-12. I think the Pac-12 ever knew what defense was. Still doesn't know what defense is. So, and I think, with all the hype around Washington, I think it's too much. And I think Boise State has shown in recent history that they don't care if you are the number 1 team in the country or the worst team in the country. They're going to play like they play every day, no matter who's playing, 6th-string quarterback, 6th-string running back. They're going to play hard, and I think Washington's not going to be ready for it. They're going to be like, oh, we got this. We're People love us. The hype is going to be too much, and I think Boise State's going to go in, and it's going to be super close, though. I'm with you on that. I think it might even be 1 point, 21-20, something weird, but I think it's going to be really close.
Jess, do you agree? Are you picking the upset with us?
No, I am not. I think Washington will win this game by about 10-14. I think they're just the better overall team. I think Boise State will keep it close. Currently, Washington is favored by about 14.5, and I think that's about right. I think Boise State should be able to cover that just overall, but I do think it's going to be closer than maybe some people anticipate. If Boise State can control the clock and control the flow of the game, I think they have a shot, but I think Washington overall just is a better team. They've got some pretty good receivers. I think they're going to be able to go through the air pretty much at will. And I think that Washington's just going to go in, get their business done, and head out. Boise State keep it close, give some people a fright, but Washington pulls away in the end.
All right. We'll check back on that. Hey, if anybody wants to take a bet, go ahead. You can send some of the money once you win. All right. West Virginia at Penn State. So West Virginia Penn State is obviously a rivalry game. It's they're right there close to each other. They usually, the fans don't like each other. This is also Neal Brown's probably make it or break it season as the head coach at West Virginia. They're obviously going to, I think, depend on the run. They were 5-0 last year when they ran for 200 yards or more. So that's what they're going to want to do. And without I would say, a great offensive skill players, that's probably what they're going to need to do to win some of these games. But they had a terrible time on defense, terrible turnover margin. And otherwise, it's really not a great team outside of some of the running that they were able to do. And Penn State is going to be one of the better defenses in the country. They could probably stop that run. I think last year only Michigan ran for over 200 yards against them. So they had a really good run stop. They have good corners. I think this is just going to be a game where talent just really outshines, West Virginia here. So I'm going probably like a 49-14 type of game. I think this is not going to be close. I think Penn State's going to just take their will out on West Virginia, and Neal Brown maybe pack in for the first week. So what do you say, Jordan?
No, I'm with you. I think Penn State, they have a lot going for them. A different quarterback that could be the guy for them. Defense looks good. Offensive line looks good. But you're also playing at Penn State at night. It's just a tough environment. When the lights are on, it's just hard to play there. And I think Penn State's going to come out and just have their way and do what they want against West Virginia. And Neal Brown's going to be gone after this week. He's going to be the first coach fired in this college football season halfway through. I'm calling it now. And Penn State's going to win. I'm thinking 52. I don't even think West Virginia is going to score 14. I think they're going to get 10 at the most.
Jess, what do you say?
I think Penn State slaughters them. I think Penn State's going to be one of the best teams in the country. I think that they are going to, they're going to probably end up being similar to where they've been in the past, in that tier slightly below Ohio State and Michigan in the Big Ten there. But, maybe Ohio State doesn't figure out the quarterback. But Penn State is going to be one of the best teams in the country. And I think they're going to come out, roll West Virginia. As Jordan said, it's at Penn State. It's at night. Rivalry. They're right next to each other, as you said, Tony. But, that's just going to hype up that Penn State crowd even more. And they got some of the best fans in the country. They always get those massive turnouts from their fans. And I think Penn State's going to come in, win this game by close to 40. Maybe West Virginia gets to 14, 17 points, but I don't even think that's going to really matter.
All right. Next up, we have a Battle of the Carolinas, North Carolina at South Carolina. Obviously, Spencer Rattler is back at quarterback for South Carolina, but the Gamecocks obviously have to be more consistent on both the defensive side and just making sure that they don't turn the ball over, things of that nature. I think they had 27 turnovers last year as a team, so they can't do that this year. And if the defense is anything, but awful, then I think quarterback Drake May for North Carolina is just going to eat them up. For North Carolina, I'm really worried about their defense as well. They lost a lot from their defense last year, and that defense last year was not great. So I don't know if the transfers they brought in, the new players they brought in, is going to fix that defense. You got to hope they move in the right direction if they want to be successful. This could be just a good old-fashioned shootout, though, because both these defenses could have holes, and both these quarterbacks take advantage of it. I'm actually thinking this is probably the game of the weekend. I'm thinking like a 41-38 type of shootout, maybe even more points. I'm going to go – it's tough. I'm going back and forth on who I think is going to win this one. But I think it's going to end up being North Carolina. It gets to win by 3. Drake May pulls away. It does just enough to get the win over South Carolina. So, Jordan, what do you say?
I'm with you on this. Is probably going to be the game of the week. I think they're going to score combined over 100 points. I think this game's there's going to be no defense, but I'm going to have to side with this South Carolina. I've heard people saying that Spencer Rattler is back, but he's playing like he did last year and playing like we've seen him play at Oklahoma. And if he can do that, and their defense takes a step, even if it's a small little step in the right direction, I'm gonna go. It's gonna be by 3. I think it's gonna be like 56-53, South Carolina. I don't know how you get 53. Don't ask.
Hey, field goals, safeties. Jess, what do you say?
I agree. I think it's going to be a shootout. I think UNC barely wins out. I think Drake May is the second best quarterback in the country, and if you've got the better quarterback in a game all right, Tony. For listeners only, Tony was saying he's the third best quarterback in the country, and I can only wonder who he has above him. But Drake May, I think he's phenomenal. I think he does still need to take that next step in development, though, and we're really going to see that this year. I have faith in him, and I think that starts here, overcoming a South Carolina team in a shootout that they will win, in that 49, 42, 49, 45 kind of range. I don't know if they're quite hitting the 100-point mark, but I'm sure every viewer would really appreciate it if they did there.
Right. Possibly the game of the weekend on Sunday is going to be LSU at Florida State. It was a crazy game last year with the missed field goal and all that. And Brian Kelly's first game at LSU, so they end up losing that one to Florida State 24-23 last year. A note, I think one of the better defensive tackles in the country, Mason Smith for LSU, will not be playing based to an improper benefit because I think he signed, autographed, or did something like that before the NIL era started. So that's just so stupid. Why they suspend him for that? And they waited. He was injured last year, so they could have suspended him last year. So they had to wait till this year, first game. And of course, it's this big game here. Don't feel sorry for Brian Kelly. No, sorry, he left, so I don't care about him. But I think for LSU, the linebacker court and the pass rush is good. I would worry about their corner, and I worry about their depth. So I don't know how much they have behind Mason Smith, and I don't know if they have injury or if some of their players have to play a lot of minutes in this game. I would worry about that. For Florida State, this is their year. Everybody's saying it. Jordan Travis, Jordan's guy is the do-it-all kind of quarterback that continues to get better and better every year. He has a loaded group of receivers. Johnny Wilson, 6'7" wide receiver. Michigan State transfer Keon Coleman. They have South Carolina tight end transfer Jaheim Bell. They just have weapons all over the field. If he can't do a great job with this weapons, then it's going to be an issue for him. So I'm interested. I think LSU's getting a lot of hype about being the team that can get to the playoff. Florida State's kind of right behind them. But I actually think just because of the weapons and, Mason Smith being out and the depth and the corners not being as good for LSU, I'm thinking Florida State wins this game. But it'll be close. I'm thinking 31-24, 38-31, somewhere in that time frame in there anyway. Jess, what do you say?
I agree. I was the only one of us that had Florida State making the playoffs in our podcast.
Jordan said Florida State or LSU to fix it.
It depends on this game. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
It's this
but
game.
I said, I was also going back and forth, and I said, you know what? I'm going FSU. I was doing it in part to be a bit of a contrarian, but I also think that, I think Florida State just has a little bit of an easier path to the playoff, and I think that starts here. I think that Smith's suspension is going to be pretty big. I think that's going to be important, particularly in this kind of game where these are two teams. They're both really good, and every bit of talent matters. And I think Florida State will win this one. I think like Tony said, I think it's going to be a close one. I'm thinking like 28-24, 31-28 kind of game. but I think Florida State wins it.
All right, Jordan, you agree?
Yeah, I agree. I think Jordan Travis is going to step up this year, have a better season. And then I also think Florida State has so much better depth than LSU. I mean, listening to podcasts and, sports radio, people are saying Florida State probably has two strings. Like they can plug and play. If someone's tired, they can put their backup in who's just as good as their starter. And so I think that's going to really help Florida State. Someone gets tired, they can put some LSU. Someone gets tired, then I don't know. You're going to be running. LSU's defense is going to be running around the field. Jordan Travis is a mobile quarterback, has shown he gets better year after year, and Florida State's going to win this game. I think it's going to, like you guys said, I think it's going to be close just because they're two good teams. And I think it's going to be, with you guys 31-28, that I think Florida State's going to pull it out.
All right. Final one is a Monday night matchup of Clemson at Duke. So obviously, I think all the eyes and media attention will be on quarterback Cade Klubnik and the new offensive philosophy under Garrett Riley. But, it could potentially be the defense as a star, as I think Clemson is again loaded on the defensive line with talent as far as the defense goes. So I'm interested to see what that defense looks like this year. But, I think we all talked about it in our AC preview, but we're all fans of where Blue Devils are going. They have a solid offensive front that's loaded with veterans. Defense should again be great at forcing turnovers, and secondary will be among the best in the ACC. Mike Elko has done a really good job of coaching these guys up, bringing in the right pieces. I think they have a really good quarterback in Riley Leonard, who might be the best quarterback on the field when they play. And I think if he could play well and their defense continues to play well against Cade Klubnik, I could see an upset happening, but I feel like Clemson will find a way to get this win. It might be a little uglier than people expect. So I'm thinking 28-20 type of game. So I'll go with Clemson winning a close window. So, Jordan, what do you say?
No, I'm with you, Tony. I think Clemson's going to pull this one out. I just think they have more star power and more playmakers and things like that than Duke does right now. If we're talking next year, the year after, I think Duke might have a chance more than you would think. But I think it's really going to depend on how Clemson's offense develops and how Cade Klubnik looks and how the offensive coordinator changes the offense to be better. I think that's really going to be the defining moment for Clemson, and it's going to define how good their season's going to be as well. So I'm going to have Clemson. I think it's going to, like you said, it's going to be ugly. I think it's going to be ugly just because it's at Duke and Duke's on the up. So the fans are going to be really into it. And then it's also the first game we're seeing Cade Klubnik starting his first full season. And then also a new offense coordinator. It's just going to be weird. So yeah, Clemson's going to pull it out. I think it's still going to be a little lopsided at the end. I think Clemson's going to pull out, 10 to 14 points. I think it's going to be probably 21-35, 21-32, something like that.
All right. Jess, do you agree?
Yeah, I agree. I think this is going to be a game that comes down to about 6-7 minutes left in the fourth. Clemson just gets that one last touchdown that kind of just seals it, puts it just out of reach for Duke. But I think Duke is going to give them a heck of a fight. I think Klubnik is going to have some growing pains week one against a very solid Duke team. But the talent of Clemson, I think, is just going to, bail him out a bit.
All right. So that's it for our week one preview. Obviously, we did do every game, but I think we did some of the more prominent games this week. And going forward, we'll probably just highlight some of the bigger matchups each week. But if there's any particular matchup you guys want to see, as always, reach out to us on Twitter in the Flat Pod.